Commander Orin Vela of the Kethri Dominion had studied humanity for exactly 11 days before she requested permission to engage one of them in direct combat. 11 days was more than enough. From orbit, Earth looked fragile, an uneven swirl of blue and green wrapped in thin cloud bands. Its satellites were primitive. Its orbital defenses were scattered and reactive rather than predictive. Even the warships of its united planetary fleet, currently positioned in cautious formations above the atmosphere, revealed inefficiencies in design. Exposed weapon arrays, visible propulsion cores, armor that favored thickness over adaptive resonance. The Kethri had crossed 3 spiral arms of the galaxy and subjugated civilizations that bent space as easily as bending light. They did not underestimate enemies. They categorized them. Humanity had been categorized as volatile, inventive, and emotionally unstable. Moderate threat in prolonged conflict. Minimal threat in direct individual engagement. Orin trusted the calculus. She stood on the command platform of the Kethri warcruiser Valtherin, her silver-blue skin shimmering faintly under the bioluminescent panels of the bridge. Her people were tall and willowy, their musculature fine but dense, engineered over generations for speed and neural precision. Thin filaments of sensory tendrils rested at her temples, reading electromagnetic fluctuations in the air. Surface transmissions indicate a challenge, reported tactical adept Siren. A human warrior requests parley. Orin's lips curved slightly. "Name?" she asked. "Captain Marcus Hale, United Planetary Fleet." The holographic display shifted, projecting the human in 3 dimensions. He stood in reinforced combat armor, helmet removed. His hair was dark and cropped short. His expression was steady, almost relaxed. Orin studied him the way a mathematician studies a simple equation. Compact, muscular by human standards. Several healed scars visible along the jaw and neck. Pupil steady. No visible cybernetic enhancement. He did not look extraordinary. "He proposes a duel," Siren said. "If he is defeated, Earth will concede orbital jurisdiction for 1 planetary cycle. If he prevails, we withdraw our immediate fleet and reopen negotiations." Orin's tendrils flickered with amusement. "A species that wages planetary defense on a single warrior," she murmured. "How quaint." "Our simulations predict a 98% probability of your victory," Siren added. "Only 98. Orin asked mildly. "The remaining 2% accounts for unknown biological adaptations." Orin turned from the display and stepped down from the platform. "Prepare the descent shuttle," she said. "I will accept." The duel was to take place on neutral ground, a plateau of hardened basalt within the Atacama Expanse, chosen for its isolation and geological stability. Kethri surveyors scanned for subsurface explosives or hidden installations. Human engineers did the same. By dusk, the plateau was encircled by observation drones from both species. Marcus Hale stood at one edge of the plateau, armor gleaming faintly in the dying light. Behind him, at a safe distance, a contingent of human soldiers watched in tense silence. Orin descended from her shuttle alone. She wore Kethri combat attire, an adaptive exosuit woven from reactive nanofibers. It enhanced neural response time and translated microimpulses into kinetic amplification. Along her forearms, phase blades shimmered faintly, invisible to the naked human eye but detectable as faint distortions in air. She approached until 20 meters separated them. "You are Captain Marcus Hale?" she asked, her voice resonant but smooth. "That's right," he replied. "You must be Commander Orin." His gaze did not waver. "You understand the terms," she said. "I do. You are willing to risk your world on personal combat." He shrugged lightly. "It's not the first time humanity's survival has come down to something improbable." Orin tilted her head. "You display confidence disproportionate to your tactical position." Marcus smiled faintly. "Maybe." A pulse of anticipation rippled through the Kethri observation network. Orin felt it through her neural link, a subtle chorus of expectation. "Begin," she said. She moved first. To human eyes, she vanished. Her body accelerated beyond conventional muscular limits, exosuit amplifying her intent. She crossed the distance in less than half a second, phase blade slicing toward Marcus's unarmored throat. Marcus pivoted. The blade grazed the side of his helmet instead of his neck, carving a glowing line through reinforced alloy. Orin felt a flicker of surprise. He had reacted. She pressed the attack. 3 rapid strikes aimed at joints and gaps in armor. Marcus retreated, boots grinding against basalt, deflecting with a collapsible kinetic staff that hummed with contained force. Each impact sent shockwaves through the air. She increased speed. The plateau blurred beneath her feet as she circled him, striking from multiple vectors. The staff blocked 2 blows, but the third sliced across his thigh armor, severing a segment and drawing blood. Marcus staggered slightly. There. Proof. Human biology was resilient, but not superior. You bleed, Orin observed calmly. Still standing, he replied. He shifted his grip on the staff. Then he did something unexpected. He stopped trying to match her speed. Instead of reacting to her movements, he began anticipating space, positioning himself not where she was, but where she would be. Orin launched upward, flipping behind him. Marcus did not turn. He drove the butt of the staff backward at precisely the moment she materialized from acceleration. The impact struck her ribs, kinetic energy dispersing across her exosuit, but still transferring force. She slid across the basalt. For the first time in years, Orin felt the sharp sting of genuine impact. The observers murmured, human and Kethri alike. Orin rose slowly. Interesting, she said. Marcus adjusted his stance. Blood ran down his leg, but his breathing remained controlled. You're fast, he admitted, but you fight like a simulation. Her tendrils flared. What does that mean? It means you're perfect, he said, and perfect patterns can be learned. She launched forward again, but this time Marcus moved first. He didn't attempt to outpace her. He altered the terrain. With a calculated strike, he shattered a segment of basalt, sending debris into the air. Dust and fragments disrupted her visual and electromagnetic readings for a fraction of a second. That fraction was enough. The staff connected with her shoulder joint, sending a spike of feedback through her exosuit. Orin retreated several paces. The 98% probability flickered in her mind. Revised. 93. # middle. Beneath the calculations. The duel stretched past the projected duration. Orin adapted quickly. She altered attack patterns, introducing irregular intervals and feints. She tested his stamina, forcing him to pivot, duck, roll. Each time her blade found an opening, she marked it, a shallow cut here, a dented plate there. Yet Marcus refused to collapse. Human physiology was inefficient in isolation, less dense muscle fibers, slower neural transmission. But it possessed something the Kethri simulations had underestimated, variability under stress. Pain did not degrade his performance in predictable increments. It sharpened him. You are degrading, Orin observed between exchanges. You're thinking too much, he replied. She increased the exosuit's amplification threshold, accepting greater neural strain in exchange for enhanced acceleration. The world narrowed into vectors and angles. She struck high, low, midline. Marcus dropped the staff. Orin's blade flashed toward his chest, and he stepped inside her reach. Human combat doctrine. Close the gap. His hand locked onto her forearm. The other struck her abdomen with armored force. Physical contact. Kethri doctrine avoided prolonged grappling with lower mass species, relying instead on speed and distance. Marcus dragged her downward, using his weight as leverage. They hit the ground in a tumble of armor and dust. Orin twisted, driving a knee into his side, but he absorbed the impact and rolled, pinning one of her arms. She could feel his breath against her neck. You're not invincible, he said quietly. For a moment, the battlefield fell silent except for their breathing. Orin activated a micropulse from her suit. The energy discharge forced Marcus backward, freeing her. They separated, both breathing harder now. Probability recalculated. 81%. Orin felt something unfamiliar stirring beneath her disciplined mind. Not fear, uncertainty. She had been trained from infancy in combat analytics. Her species valued precision, foresight, controlled escalation. Emotion was acknowledged but compartmentalized. Humans did not compartmentalize. They embodied. Marcus's movements were no longer purely reactive. They were intuitive, bordering on reckless, but calibrated through lived experience rather than algorithm. Orin launched a sweeping strike aimed at disabling his remaining mobility. Marcus leapt backward, too slow. The blade cut deep across his torso. He fell to one knee. Blood pooled on basalt. The human observers stiffened. Ketheri's sensors recorded a surge of cardiac irregularity. "Yield," Orin said. Marcus coughed, crimson staining his lips. "Not yet." He forced himself upright. Orin could end it now. A clean strike to the neck joint. Victory. Earth subdued. The Dominion triumphant. She stepped forward and hesitated. Why? Her neural interface flickered with incoming advisories from *Vial Star. "Conclude engagement," Siren transmitted. "Probability of unexpected reversal remains." Orin studied Marcus's eyes. They were not calculating. They were determined. Not for pride. For something else. "Why?" she asked abruptly. Marcus blinked, confused. Why what? Why continue when defeat is imminent? He managed a strained laugh. "Because someone has to show you we're not numbers." The word struck deeper than any blow. Not numbers. The Ketheri Dominion's expansion model reduced species of projections, resource potential, resistance index, cultural malleability. Humans had been slotted into a matrix. Orin saw now the floor. Matrices did not bleed. She attacked again, but differently. She slowed deliberately, testing not his reflexes but his resolve. Marcus met her halfway, staff retrieved, though his movements were heavy now. They exchanged blows, less precise, more visceral. A staff strike cracked her visor plate. A blade sliced across his shoulder. They circled, battered and breathing. The plateau was no longer pristine basalt. It was scarred, marked by struggle. Orin felt her exosuit's energy reserves dipping. Marcus's vitals were deteriorating. This would end soon, but not as she had envisioned. # the breaking point. Marcus staggered again, nearly collapsing. Orin moved in for the final strike, and in that split second, she saw not an opponent, but a species embodied in one flawed, stubborn individual. A species that fought not because simulations demanded it, but because it believed in something irrational, the possibility of changing outcomes through will alone. Her blade hovered at his throat. Silence stretched. Human soldiers watched in dread. Ketheri observers awaited confirmation of victory. Marcus met her gaze. "You misjudged us," he whispered. Orin's tendrils trembled. She had, not in physical capacity, in essence. To defeat him would win a cycle of orbital dominance. To spare him would challenge centuries of Dominion doctrine. Probability screamed one answer. Instinct, new and unquantified, suggested another. Orin withdrew her blade. Gasps echoed across comm channels. "I concede," she said clearly. Siren's voice erupted in her neural link. "Commander, clarify. Tactical advantage is yours." "I concede," Orin repeated. She stepped back, deactivating her phase blades. Marcus swayed, barely conscious. "You... what?" he managed. "I misjudged my enemy," she said. "You are not defined by your limitations." Human medics rushed forward. Ketheri's shuttles remained frozen in orbit, awaiting clarification. Orin transmitted directly to Vial Star. Engagement concluded. Initiate withdrawal protocols. "Commander," Siren protested, "this contradicts strategic directives." "Update the directives," Orin replied. Silence followed. Then, reluctantly, the Ketheri fleet began to reposition. # ending. Redefinition. Marcus Hale survived. It took months of recovery and reconstructive treatment, but he lived. Orin returned to Dominion space under scrutiny. The High Conclave convened to review her decision. "You abandoned a 98% victory probability," one elder stated. "Yes," Orin replied calmly. "Explain." "I encountered a variable not accounted for in our models." "Specify." "Human will," she said. "It does not scale linearly with injury or resource deficit. It amplifies." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. "Our doctrine reduces species to predictable patterns," Orin continued. "Humans defy reduction. You propose abandoning expansion." "I propose adaptation," she corrected. "Engagement through alliance rather than subjugation." The conclave deliberated for cycles. Meanwhile, diplomatic channels reopened between Oath and the Dominion. Marcus Hale, scarred but resolute, became a symbol not of martial superiority, but of resilience. Months later, Orin returned to Earth, not as conqueror, but as envoy. They met again on a quieter plateau, this time under open sky without drones. "You look better," Orin observed. "Doc says I'm hard to kill," Marcus replied with a faint grin. She inclined her head. "You were right." "About what?" "We misjudged you." He studied her. "And now we seek understanding." Marcus extended his hand. This time, she understood the gesture. She took it. The grip was firm, warm, human. The Dominion revised its classification of humanity, not as volatile moderate threat, but as emergent equal. Trade routes replaced battle formations. Joint research initiatives replaced invasion plans. Orin's report on the duel became required study within Kethri military academies, not as a tale of defeat, as a lesson. The alien who misjudged her enemy had not lost. She had learned, and in learning, she altered the trajectory of two civilizations. Years later, historians would mark the duel of the Basal Plateau as a turning point in interstellar relations between Kethri and humanity. They would analyze the footage frame by frame. They would calculate force vectors and energy outputs. But none of their equations would fully capture the decisive moment, the instant when a blade hovered at a human throat, and choice outweighed probability. Orin Vela had entered the plateau certain of victory. She left it certain of something far more powerful. That strength was not merely speed or precision. It was a willingness to stand when defeat was logical, and sometimes to lower your weapon when victory is assured. The alien had misjudged her enemy. In doing so, she discovered him, and perhaps, for the first time, discovered herself.